The Eagles OTAs start today, and there's going to be a lot of interesting positional battles that we're going to watch. And could us D-hoppers have it all wrong about DeAndre Hopkins? Could it be possible that DeAndre Hopkins is just shot? Dallas still stinks. Yo, by the way, King Dingbat here, and I hope everybody's having a great day. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're hanging in there. So we are finally at the time of OTAs. They begin today for the Eagles, and it's going to be interesting to watch these positional battles through the summer in the preseason. Cannot wait. And listen, could us D-hoppers be wrong about DeAndre Hopkins? Could we have it all wrong? Could it be possible that he's just shot? He ain't got nothing left, and we don't want nothing to do with him? We've got to talk about it. But before we do that, if you're new to the channel and you like the content, make sure you hit that like button. More importantly, make sure you subscribe to the most censored, the most throttled, pause, Eagles content creator in all of the internet. And if you've been subscribed for a while, I just want to thank you so much for all the support you give to me. It truly, truly means a lot. Also, before I start, I have to wish my daughter, my oldest daughter, Bella, a happy birthday. She turned 16, sweet 16. And, oh, God, it's got me all messed up, man. I'm happy for her. It's her birthday and all that. But, man, it's got me all messed up. I'm old, man. I'm getting old. You know, my kid's 16. I remember when she was born, a little kid in my hand. Now she's 16. It goes so quick. It goes so quick. If you have kids and they're little, enjoy every moment because it goes quick. Now I have to go out and buy big, giant bats for boys. You know what I mean? It's going to be crazy. But I wanted to wish my daughter a very happy birthday today. You know, we're going to celebrate it later on, so that should be a lot of fun. Just wanted to say happy birthday. Now, as you guys know, the Eagles, they are beginning OTAs today. Here's the thing. It looks like OTAs are going to not be open for practice, so I don't know how much info we're going to actually get out of OTAs like today. Whatever we do get out, we will definitely talk about here on this channel. But Zach Berman wrote this. He said, the Eagles begin OTAs today, and they'll have 6 sessions during the next 2 weeks. A breakdown of what matters and doesn't with the biggest stories of spring, blah, blah, blah. And then he said this, for those seeking updates, Eagles will open practice to reporters later this week and next week, not today. So it's going to be interesting to see if we hear a whole lot about what's going on and that kind of thing. Should be kind of interesting. But, you know, whatever we get out of it, I will definitely be talking about it. I always feel funny about showing clips, especially from the Eagles site, because I've seen people get hammered with copyright strikes, and then not just one, but like multiple from using their stuff. So it always worries me. But you know, we will definitely be talking about the OTAs later on today. Some interesting DeAndre Hopkins stuff that I want to get into, some updates, right? First, DeAndre Hopkins looks like he's getting himself a new agency. Ian Rappaport's reporting this. Former Pound Arizona Cardinals star wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins has hired agent Kelton Crenshaw of Clutch Sports to represent him in free agency. Sources says Hopkins had previously represented himself before signing with Crenshaw, who also reps Chase Young, stinks, Kayvon Thibodeau, he's a Giant, so he stinks, and of course the great Devontae Smith. So he's going with the same agent as Devontae Smith. I absolutely put no stock in that, by the way, just to let you know, in terms of him signing with the Philadelphia Eagles. And speaking of signing with the Philadelphia Eagles, we have talked about it. I consider myself a D-hopper. I would definitely like to see the Eagles add him, especially if they're going to cut or move Quez Watkins, which we'll talk about a little bit later in this video. But one thing we haven't considered, and I know that some people have probably put it in the comments, and maybe I shoot it, and if I did, I apologize for that. But we have to consider the fact and the possibility that maybe this guy's done. Maybe he's shot. Maybe he ain't got nothing left. Maybe the Arizona Cardinals knew that. Now, I don't think the Cardinals are the biggest genius organization in sports. They hired Jonathan Gannon. But it's something to think about, especially when we're getting reports out that may be the case. Dov Kleeman's reporting this. NFL executives, DeAndre Hopkins, quote, can't run anymore and not going to separate via Albert Breer. 3 executives discuss Hopkins' current ability and seem to be divided. So, if DeAndre Hopkins is shot and he can't separate and he's done, then you don't want nothing. We don't want nothing to do with him. We don't want nothing to do with him because what would be the point? I think Julio Jones is done. I wouldn't mind Julio Jones if it was like the 5th receiver on your team, not at the number 3 wide receiver. Let me say this, because I know there's a lot of people talking about the separation of having 3 receivers who all want balls and targets and will it work? I don't view DeAndre Hopkins, whether he has something left or not. I don't view him as good as A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. I don't think he's as good as either of those guys. What are you doing? Move. You know what I mean? So, sorry, crazy cat right there. But I don't view DeAndre Hopkins as good as either of those 2 guys. Okay, so that's why I think he would be a perfect number 3 if he has something left. If he has nothing left, then we don't want anything to do with him. Okay, now, do I think he has something left or do I think he doesn't? I think he probably has something left. I think there's probably some truth in what they're saying, but it's probably not to the levels the Cardinals would like to tell everybody because they cut him. I think it's probably somewhere in between. So, in actuality, he's probably the perfect 3rd wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's probably the 3rd best receiver on the team if he was to come, and he'd probably be very effective having A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith on the field with him, but he's probably not what he once was 5 years ago. I think that's probably fair when it comes to DeAndre Hopkins. However, I think it's interesting that some scouts or executives are split on him, and that may, depending upon how the Eagles feel, obviously it may mean they pursue him or not. It's just something to keep in mind. I'm not sitting here saying that I think he's shot. I don't know that he's shot. I have no idea. But I don't think he's as good as he was 5 years ago. I think on the Eagles team, if he was to come on the Eagles team, I think he'd be the 3rd best wide receiver. So I don't think all the problems with him needing balls and you have these 3 number 1 wide receivers, I don't think that's quite the way it would work out because I don't think he's the same guy he was a few years ago. But it's just something to keep in mind, something that we have to talk about, and it's a possibility, We've talked a lot of good things about him, but the truth is, if there's executives out there thinking that, it's something that we have to consider. I'm just saying, I'm not making a statement one way or the other. I'm just putting out the information, and then you can decide what you think with that. The other thing, it was Pro Football News. I was reading that, and they were talking about 3 potential possible cuts coming June 1st, okay? And there was 2 of the 3 names I thought were very interesting. I wanted to go over all 3 of them because they might affect the Eagles in different ways, okay? The first guy that they were talking about these were like 3 potential cut candidates June 1st, right? The first one is obviously probably the most likely, and that was Dalvin Cook of the Minnesota Vikings. It seems like the Vikings and Dalvin Cook are headed for a divorce. Now, this wouldn't affect the Eagles in that the Eagles wouldn't go out and sign Dalvin Cook. They don't want to do that. They're not going to do that. But I think if Dalvin Cook was to get cut, I think the Dallas Cowboys should jump all over it. I do, because I think if they were to add Dalvin Cook to go with Pollard, that would be a nice wrinkle to their offense. The way I see Dallas and the way I view the Dallas Cowboys is they don't have enough firepower to compete with the Eagles. They can't keep up with the Eagles firepower-wise. Even though they went out and they got Cooks and Gallup's come back from injury, I don't think they have enough firepower. So that's why I always bring up guys like Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Hopkins, because I think Dallas Cowboys need more firepower. And if I was a Cowboy fan, that's what I would think. So Dalvin Cook would be interesting if he got cut, if he went to Dallas. Do I think he'll go to Dallas? I do not. But I do think that Dalvin Cook's headed for a divorce with the Minnesota Vikings. The next candidate they had was Kevin Byard. Now, this was kind of interesting because I don't expect or think that the Tennessee Titans were headed to cut him. So the fact that his name showed up to me is really, really, really interesting, okay? They said this: reports indicate that Kevin Byard won't take a pay cut despite Tennessee Titans desiring one. He's also skipping OTAs and all those kind of things. He says, although the Titans roster doesn't resemble a realistic contender, any immediate monetary relief would be met with criticism because of cultural impact. So basically what they're saying is it may be a problem for them to cut him because how the perception, I guess, will be if they're letting another veteran go. But if this team is rebuilding, and the fact that they even put him on the list, to me has to make me wonder if Kevin Byard could actually be a cut candidate, for June 1st. I don't think he would be, but it's an interesting name. I think more than likely, I think Kevin Byard would be traded. That would make a lot more sense to me than him. And then the last one they had, which I don't agree with this. This is just the list that they had, but they had Quez Watkins as a possible cut candidate. Here's what they said. Maybe the expectations for Quez Watkins were a bit too high heading into the 2022 after a strong season 21. He struggled enough the Philadelphia Eagles to feel they needed a potential replacement for the receiver in the offseason. They signed Olimad Zacchaeus, I know I can't say his name right, to a multi-year deal to play in the slot, and cutting Watkins would save the Eagles $2.7 million against the cap. I do not think the Eagles should cut Quez Watkins. I do not think the Eagles will cut Quez Watkins. And, any trade, there's been a couple different articles where they've had different trade proposals for Quez Watkins. We talked about one of them was to the Colts. There was another hypothetical trade to the Atlanta Falcons. Neither of them have any teeth. They're just hypothetical trades. But if the Eagles were to trade Quez Watkins, the only way I can see you doing that is if you go out and you sign a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. That would be the only way you do it. Otherwise, why would you do it? You can't just cut Quez Watkins or trade him without not replacing him. You would need another wide receiver. So to me, I don't see how the Eagles, and I don't agree with this article because I don't see how you can cut Quez Watkins unless you go out and sign DeAndre Hopkins. Now, if you get DeAndre Hopkins, then I think you could trade Quez Watkins, definitely, or cut him if you really want to. I wouldn't cut him, but you could trade him, and you would save $2.7 million in cap space. So it's gonna be interesting. There's always names that sneak by that we don't expect around this time that get cut, get released, and there's always good players that become or shake loose that can really help impact your team. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Eagles do and how they do it. Definitely, we struck gold last year with James Bradbury. Could we strike gold again with DeAndre Hopkins, assuming he has a lot left? I think he probably does. It's probably just not what he was a few years ago. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about all this kind of stuff. We'll see. Hopefully see you guys later today if there's any OTA news out or not, or anything else happens. With that said, take care. Talk to you later, of course. Don't be a dingbat. Remember, it's Howie Vision. We're all just living in it. Say hi, Cookie. Hi, Cookie. So this is Cookie, and she wanted to see what was going on. She wanted to say hi. She's our looker in here. She don't like to be held a lot. She likes to sit next to you, that kind of thing, but she don't be held. But she wanted to see what was going on with the filming. She's also a big Eagle fan, hates the Cowboys, right? Cowboys still stink. There's Washington and Cookie out.